What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your weekend review for September 14th, 2020. We have a bit of a short week. We're still dealing with kind of the whatever CitizenCon celebration, end of summer, before fall, whatever you want to call it, kind of content drought. But we do have a little bit to discuss this week. So before we get into it, as always, make sure you hit the like button. That really does help us with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't yet, check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/SaltEMike. We stream every day but Monday, so I can get this video out for you, starting at 6:30 a.m. Eastern time. Although I've been playing a lot of this game called Eco, so you might not really be interested in it. But anyway, let's get right into it. We start out with some patch notes. We had a PTU patch this week, 3.10.2c, which was really just a test for the backend services that have been locking up quite a bit in 3.10 since its inception, pretty much, where you're changing armor, changing vehicle loadouts, changing weapons, anything with inventory like drinking, stuff like that. Super delayed. So they're just trying to figure out what's going on with that one. But that's really it for patch notes. So we also have a Squadron 42 monthly report. I told you we would delay last week's email Squadron 42 report until they put it on the website this week, because I thought this week would be a little bit more dry. So there we go. We have something to talk about. It's a small bit. I have 4 things to point out here because a lot of stuff carries over from last week. We start out with AI. It's a cool touch since we usually don't get much on the Vandal, other than visuals, really, right? So now we know they're going to jump around, and their spear can shoot, but also be a melee weapon. So that's pretty cool. For engineering, this does tie into last week as well. The SDF tech from the PU is also being implemented here. I really hope this works out because the transitions between ships, 0G, all those things are really important, and they're a bit wonky at the moment. Again, most of the other updates in the engineering section are kind of tying in with last week's update. Graphics, Gen 12 renderer sighting yet again. They're working on the conversion process to that renderer. And lastly, level design. 10 levels moved to the gold standard, which means they play out as expected in the final game, but that doesn't mean that they're 100% complete. They still have a lot of other work to do on them to bring them to, like, game ready, I guess. I don't know. Gold standards sound like is the gold standard. You know, it's usually the best, so I'm confused a little bit when the gold standard isn't, but that's okay. Maybe some game development lingo that I don't understand. There is dev also on important dogfighting locations, and I think this is why we have the gas cloud tech. So I'm assuming there was like dogfighting going on in the game, and it's just a general space background, and maybe they wanted to add some more visuals to it, similar to, I don't know, it's nice to play Arena Commander with the certain background that you like, right? Instead of just dead space. So I think that's why we ended up with these gas clouds that we've been seeing lately. I think this was the idea behind it. So, all right, well, that's it for the monthly report. Let's move on to the roadmap. Really almost nothing here. Roadmap Roundup is just the BR2 ballistic shotgun moving to polishing. For the Reddit roadmap from Odysseus on Reddit, we see that there's 3.11 progress, which is a 5% overall uptick, but seeing just under 10% on mostly every task in 3.11. Still no update on painting of the moons and the planets, even though we know this was in progress by reading the monthly reports. And the Star Runner is only 54% done, and that's for a 3.11 whatever patch. 3.12 progress, big ticket stuff, is a 50% uptick on elevator panels. They're finally coming. Someone's done a task on elevator panels. So this is going to be a game changer, guys. No, I'm just kidding. But again, this is one of those things that has been passed down the line forever, and it seems like progress is actually being done on it. So we might get it in 3.11, and it might not pass to 4.0, 3.13, 15, who knows anymore. The tractor beam is continuing to make progress as well, and object push and pull had a 17% rise in progress. Moving on to video updates, we had an ISC where they started out with a 100i featurette. They did a little thing where listen, every time a concept ship comes out, it does tend to stray from the original concept once it's released in the game. So they discuss that here.
A lot of the time with ships, there'll be many changes made from concept to final. Thankfully with the 100 series, however, that hasn't really happened. Obviously it was very important for us to keep the look of that initial concept going, which we've managed to do.
Now I'm glad to hear it didn't. I'm really looking forward to trying out what the new player experience would be like in a ship like the 100i. As time passes as well, the ship teams add new features and update the old ones, but the 100i is no exception to that.
So for the dashboard, for example, we've now gone into a more physicalized dashboard where every button can be interacted with. This will be the first new ship using this new mechanic.
This is also awesome. The current system is just not good. It's super weird, super unintuitive. So looking at buttons and learning what those buttons do and getting, I guess, acquainted with your ship is going to be a pretty cool thing to experience, and looking forward to that getting implemented on all ships in the future. Front end experience featurette, that's where they went to next, and they converted the front end to building blocks. So one cool thing that they've been doing is pinning stuff away on the right side, and also a much needed feature.
One thing I wanted to show you that we thought was pretty cool is we actually allowed these to pin to the side of the screen now. So kind of emphasizes that freeing up the space so that you can see these cool backgrounds that we're putting into the game here for you. So going back to our main screen here, I've got a party invite, and bam, there you go. So all the previous functionality still exists, right? Now, one thing I want you to see here, people were kind of talking about like, man, I really wish I had a way to kind of get rid of all these. Well, guess what? We added a button.
So yeah, I mean, sometimes you just don't want those things there. They're kind of annoying at times. And the clear all feature, I don't know why, I just can't stand having the notifications there. It's like having the little red one on Discord. It's like the most annoying thing ever, right? So also, join our Discord. Yeah. And new players had a hard time with the old system, so they updated it. This is the system to get into the server, I guess, into the PU.
So on the way in, we wanted to try and think about the players that have never played our game before. So what do they need to do here? There's a drop down here that they need to fill in, and once they do, cool, you get another drop down, right? So we're trying to guide the new players through this process a little bit more, a little more hand holding. But what we've got here is we've got a bunch of different backgrounds so that you can kind of see the location that you're going to. We thought that was a really important thing to try and put into place, and and then you could join the game, right?
Yeah, this is much more intuitive, makes much more sense. It gives them a general line of what to do and what expectations to have for where they're going. So that's a good thing. There also was a Star Citizen Live this week about the ship showdown thing. Really nothing to discuss here. Again, link will always be in the description if you want to check that out yourselves. It's pretty cool. So now moving on to other updates. We start out with a lore post, which was a Max Ox company portfolio, which they just generally make energy weapons in the game. There was also a post from Molly, which was a friendly reminder to update your email in association with, if you do use two-factor, that you may need your email address to use that, so make sure it's updated. And Arena Commander and Star Marine feedback post. Part of this makes me feel good. I do enjoy playing Star Marine from time to time. Arena Commander, not so much. But also part of me makes me feel bad that it's not a Theaters of War feedback post. Leave a comment below if you guys are really excited and waiting for Theaters of War like I am. Also, we had a sneak peek this week, which was turret seats of the Star Runner. So just the lighting in the ship looks pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. But again, we saw it's only 54% done, so we have some time. Subscriber promotions this month are knives, a brown one for $10 subs, blue one for $20 subs, and a red one for sale in the store. And the Cutlass Blue is the flyable ship for the month for subscribers. Now on to, I guess, the bigger stuff. Ship Showdown is the free fly event where you can fly the 16 ships that were chosen from community posts, which ships are going to be free flyable, and then they're also going to have a tournament ship competition where the final 4 will get a skin that you can buy. a competition to buy things. Star Citizen. There's also a referral bonus for the P-52 Merlin, and people who participate in the free fly will get a discount on starter ships. And here we are. CR's return. It was on Spectrum. It was just in text. It was not in video, but it was something. So Kamerl, a very prominent member of the community, does a lot of testing on Star Citizen and has a pretty awesome YouTube channel. Made a post asking about the room system. What's up with it, man? You talked about the room system 4 or 5 years ago. Why don't we have it yet? And Chris responds. And, I mean, in general, guys, we talked about this a lot on Answer the Call, so if you really want to hear my deep thoughts about this and other members of the community, Answer the Call was posted yesterday. Link will be up here in the top left corner or right corner, and you guys can check that out there. But in general, I'm going to give you a brief rundown on what happened. Kamerl makes a post. Chris Roberts responds to that post, explaining to him kind of why we don't have the room system. Kamerl doesn't accept this response, and that's strong. Like, he shows no backing down from the man of the company, which, I would have a hard time doing. And, he's just kind of tired of hearing yeah, we have this feature in the game, but it needs this, that, and the other thing. But, unfortunately, that's the truth, man. You can be tired of hearing about it, but it's the truth. But then what really comes out of this post is CR's response to Kamerl's response, where he comes to the defense of his employees. And he says, you know what? I understand where you're coming from and all that, but in the end, I'm really tired of my employees being treated poorly because of your lack of understanding of game development. I am the first person to raise my hand and say, I've been one of those people. You know what I mean? And you get really frustrated with a lot of things, and you do tend to let it out, and sometimes you let it out in an inappropriate way. And I obviously have done that before. All of us have. Not all of us, but a lot of us have. Now, CR thinks that it comes from the timing of things, the fact that the timeline takes a long time. It really isn't that for me, and through Answer the Call, it really isn't that for a lot of the people that called. We understand what's going on. What we don't understand is why you wait till the last possible minute to tell us what's going on. And when you do tell us, it's extremely vague. So Chris then goes in to talk about salvage and says why it's been delayed. And this short little paragraph tells us more about why salvage has been delayed, in my opinion, than anything they've shared about it in the past. Simple, succinct, this is what's going on. Be patient. I don't think they do a good job of that. And yeah, it's just one of those things where I also don't think Chris understands that we're not upset about the timeline, we're upset about the communication. And when we communicate constructive critical feedback and get ignored, but when we as the community rages on Spectrum about Squadron 42 updates, or rages on Reddit about Squadron 42 updates, or where's Chris Roberts, right? Then all of a sudden things happen. So what you're doing is you're saying, guys, don't do this, it doesn't get you anywhere. But what's actually happening is the opposite. When the community gets ridiculous, and then the general gaming community picks up on it, then you react. So what are we going to start doing, right? We're going to start making more memes. We're going to start getting more ridiculous, because that's what gets a response. I do agree with when you're constructively critical and you're less ragey. I've noticed that when it comes to the game, I see myself getting a little bit more noticed, have a back and forth, things like that. But in general, the way Star Citizen is acting versus what Chris is saying, it's kind of different. Then he shares something interesting, that there's about 30,000 people a day that log into Star Citizen. This really isn't a lot, because I don't think that's concurrent the way it was written. There's also 100,000 people that log in during a given event. He also outlines how many teams are exclusively working on Star Citizen, which is 12, and Squadron 42, 11, but there's 58 teams in total, the rest of which float between the two, teams like art teams, graphic designers, stuff like that. Overall, I think this is a net positive for Chris posting. I think Chris showing his face, being a part of the project is very important. I just don't think having him on camera and then, spacing out and telling us about things that are not coming for the next 15 years is good for the project overall. But again, I hope he understands that we want more open communication on the game development woes, because most of us will never understand. But alright guys, that'll do it for this week in review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, make sure you hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe for more weeks in review in the future, and make sure you follow my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, and I'll see you guys next week.